When I was young, in my late teens, I had this recurring nightmare. The dream would always start at the entrance to a cemetery, and I would walk in as if I was going to visit a grave. It is mid-afternoon and everything seems like a normal day. There are other patrons visiting graves of loved ones, but for me, this cemetery doesn't carry any familiarity. I don't know why I am there, and the question starts to worry me. My consciousness is hazy at best. I know I'm there for a reason, but the details are unclear. How did I get here anyway? A little time passes. Most of the cemetery visitors have gone, and the sun is quickly setting. A cold, nervous fear creeps up on me. I think to myself, it's probably a good idea to leave before the sun completely sets. They close at dusk, I'm sure. I begin to move with haste and purpose. It's time to go. I can see a small group of visitors lingering behind. I shout to them that they really should leave the cemetery before it gets too dark, and they get locked in. As soon as I said it, I wondered why I would assume that we would get locked in. Their casual attitude and lack of urgency upset me. And I decided that I did my best. They were on their own. The feeling of threat grew stronger. It was a familiar feeling. I knew something bad was going to happen. I wasn't certain what would happen, but I could feel it getting closer. I hastily moved toward the exit, as the sun was quickly setting. As I made my way down the path, I noticed pockets of mist rising up from the ground, almost as if it was forming from the graves themselves. The fear began to overwhelm me. A true sense of dread welled up, as I came to the conclusion that something terrible, something unnatural was about to happen once the sun completely set, and if I didn't make it out of the cemetery boundary before dark, I would be locked in, trapped, and I would have to face whatever this terrible thing was. It was almost completely dark when I looked back to see that the remaining visitors were gone, as if they were never there to begin with. However, in the distance, within the fog, I could see figures moving in a strange manner, not quite human, but twisted and broken. And they were moving closer. I began to run in a panic toward the gate, toward the disappearing sun. The distance to the entrance seemed to stretch further, the more I tried to reach it. I looked frantically for some other way to escape and noticed a fallen tree leaning against the fence. I thought to myself that I should be able to use it to scale the fence and make it back outside before. There wasn't much time left, so I made the last-ditch effort to make it over the fence. I threw myself over without stopping to look at what was waiting for me on the other side. I landed hard on the pavement on the other side and realized I was in the middle of a parkway that runs adjacent to the cemetery. I narrowly missed getting hit by a fast-moving oncoming car. The danger was real, but I felt it was better than what was in that cemetery. I hugged the walls and quickly made it to an intersection and the safety of a pedestrian walkway. I tried my best not to think about what happened to those people that didn't make it out. With the danger behind me, I could stop and think about the situation rationally. I could finally clear my head. But that is when I ultimately wake up. It was the same nightmare, the same escape, but I never seem to change my actions. I never remember that it's a dream. I never try harder to save those people, and I never stop to face the danger head on. Eventually I would stop having that dream, but it would only get replaced with a different nightmare and it would start all over again. A new recurring nightmare, a new threat. But in my waking life, I felt that the threat was coming from the same dark being that seems to live in my nightmares.